The Zephyrian Empire had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. Their crystalline ships swept through star systems like gleaming daggers, demanding tribute from lesser species. Admiral Kexathera stood on the bridge of the flagship Dominion's edge, watching the holographic display show their latest conquest. The primitive world below them sparkled with blue oceans and green continents. Another water world filled with savages, sneered Commander Veltok, his forearms gesturing dismissively at the planetary scans. The inhabitants barely achieved faster-than-light travel 50 cycles ago. They call themselves humans. Kexthera's elongated skull tilted as she examined the data. The planet showed signs of industrial civilization, nuclear capabilities, and crude space stations orbiting their homeworld. Nothing impressive by Zephyrian standards. Their own empire spanned 47 star systems, each one brought to heel through superior technology and overwhelming force. Begin standard subjugation protocols, Kexathera commanded. Disable their orbital defenses, destroy their military installations, and prepare the compliance demands. These humans will learn to serve the Empire like all the others. The Zephyrian fleet consisted of 12 massive dreadnoughts, each one capable of glassing a continent. Their energy shields could deflect anything these primitives might throw at them. Plasma cannons charged with the power of small stars, gravity weapons that could crush mountains. The humans had no chance. The first attack wave descended upon Earth's moon base. The small human outpost vanished in a flash of superheated plasma, its defenders unable to even send a distress signal. Next came the orbital stations. One by one, they burst like soap bubbles against the Zephyrian arsenal. The humans' primitive projectile weapons bounced harmlessly off the alien shields. Within 6 hours, Earth's space defenses lay in ruins. The proud International Space Defense Force had been reduced to debris floating in the void. Admiral Kexathera smiled with satisfaction as reports flooded in from her fleet commanders. Total victory, 0 casualties. Open communication channels with the planet's surface, she ordered. Time to deliver the ultimatum. The transmission reached every communication device on Earth simultaneously. Kexthera's imposing figure appeared on screens worldwide, her pale skin gleaming under the bridge lights, her black eyes holding no warmth or mercy. Primitive humans of this world, her voice echoed across continents, automatically translated by Zephyrian technology. I am Admiral Kexathera of the Zephyrian Empire. Your pathetic defenses have fallen. Your military is destroyed. You now face a choice. Submit to Imperial rule or watch your planet burn. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in across the planet below. You have 72 of your hours to surrender unconditionally. Dismantle your governments. Prepare your strongest specimens for slave labor. Your planet's resources now belong to the Empire. Refuse these terms and we will reduce your world to ash. You have seen our power. You know resistance is futile. The transmission ended, leaving Earth in stunned silence. In government bunkers and military command centers, human leaders stared at empty screens. Some called for immediate surrender. Others demanded a fight to the last man. But all of them understood the same terrible truth. They were outgunned, outmatched, and utterly alone. High above the planet, the Zephyrian fleet settled into a blockade formation. Their sensors detected frantic communications between human population centers. Panic spreading through their cities. Military units scrambling to defensive positions with weapons that couldn't even scratch Zephyrian hull plating. Predictable, muttered Commander Veltok. They always panic first, then accept reality. These mammals are no different from the others we've conquered. But Admiral Kexathera noticed something odd in the sensor readings. Instead of the usual signs of preparation for surrender, she detected massive energy signatures from the planet's surface. Industrial facilities working at maximum capacity. Transportation networks moving at unprecedented speeds. The humans weren't acting like a defeated species. What are they doing down there? She wondered aloud. Her tactical officer, a younger Zephyrian named Haxavel, manipulated the sensor controls. Unknown, Admiral. The energy patterns are unlike anything in our database. It appears they're activating some kind of planetary defense system. Kexathera laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Defense system? We've already destroyed everything they had. What could these primitives possibly have that we haven't detected? She was about to learn that humans were very good at hiding things, and even better at making their enemies regret underestimating them. Deep beneath the Earth's surface in facilities that didn't appear on any map, ancient protocols were being activated. Systems that had been built in secret over decades, powered by technologies that the aliens had dismissed as impossible. The humans had been preparing for this day longer than the Zephyrians realized. The countdown had begun. 60 hours into the ultimatum, something impossible happened. The Zephyrian sensors detected a massive energy spike from Earth's surface, followed by the emergence of structures that hadn't been there before. Enormous metal towers rose from hidden underground facilities, their surfaces crackling with unfamiliar energy patterns. "Admiral, you need to see this," called out Tactical Officer Haxavel, his voice tight with concern. "The humans are activating some kind of planetary weapon system." Kexathera strode to the sensor display, her confidence beginning to waver. The readings showed energy levels that shouldn't be possible for such a primitive species. The towers were generating fields that actually registered on their deep space sensors. "Impossible," she hissed. "Our intelligence reports showed they barely mastered fusion technology." These readings suggest something far more advanced. What the Zephyrians didn't know was that humanity had been visited before. 70 years ago, another alien ship had crashed in the remote mountains of Earth. The technology recovered from that wreck had been reverse-engineered in absolute secrecy, studied by the brightest minds of multiple generations. Project Deep Shield had consumed trillions of dollars and the lifework of thousands of scientists. The towers rising from Earth's surface weren't just weapons. They were the culmination of 7 decades of preparation for exactly this moment. Commander Veltok manipulated the tactical display, zooming in on the largest tower complex. "The energy signature is completely foreign, Admiral. Our computers can't even classify what type of technology this is." Down on Earth, Director Sarah Chen stood in the command bunker of Deep Shield Central, watching the holographic displays show the alien fleet in orbit. Around her, technicians worked frantically at control stations, their faces grim but determined. "Tower network is at 90% power and rising," reported her chief engineer. "All defensive grids are online. The aliens are about to learn why we've been so quiet for the past 60 hours. Sarah nodded, her gray hair pulled back severely, her eyes reflecting the blue glow of the tactical displays. She had spent her entire career preparing for this moment, knowing that humanity's survival depended on keeping their greatest secrets hidden until the moment of absolute necessity. "Send the response transmission," she ordered. Across the void, Admiral Kexathara received an incoming communication from the planet's surface. She expected pleas for mercy or desperate attempts at negotiation. Instead, she found herself looking at a human female with steel in her eyes. "I am Director Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Consortium," the human said calmly. "Your ultimatum has been received and rejected. You made one critical error in your assessment of our species. You assumed we were unprepared." Kexathera's face twisted with rage. "How dare you, primitive? Do you not understand the power of the Zephyrian Empire? We have conquered 47 worlds." Sarah's expression didn't change. "Yes, we know about your empire. We've been watching you for quite some time. We know about your tactics, your technology, and your weaknesses. What you don't know is that Earth has been preparing for your arrival since before you conquered your last 3 worlds." The human woman gestured to something off-screen, and suddenly the Zephyrian sensors exploded with new contacts. Ships were emerging from what appeared to be empty space around Earth's moon, their hulls shimmering as advanced stealth systems deactivated. "Impossible," gasped Commander Veltok. "Where did those ships come from?" The human fleet wasn't large, only 30 vessels compared to the Zephyrians' 12 massive dreadnoughts, but the energy signatures coming from the human ships made Kexathera's blood run cold. These weren't the primitive craft they had easily destroyed earlier. "You see, Admiral," Sarah continued, "we learned something important from studying your empire's expansion pattern. You always attack the same way. Overwhelming force against orbital defenses, followed by demands for surrender. It's very effective against species who fight conventionally." The human ships began moving, their formations precise and coordinated. The Zephyrians had never seen anything like them. Sleek, angular vessels that seemed to bend light around their hulls. "But humans don't fight conventionally," Sarah said, and for the first time she smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "We fight dirty. We prepare, we adapt, and most importantly, we learn from our enemies' mistakes." Kexathera felt a chill run down her crystalline spine. The confidence that had carried her through a dozen conquests was beginning to crack. These humans weren't behaving like any species she had encountered before. They were acting like they actually had a chance. "Fire warning shots," she commanded. Show them the futility of resistance. The Zephyrian dreadnoughts opened fire with their plasma cannons, streams of superheated energy lancing toward the human fleet. But instead of connecting with hull plating, the plasma beams struck something else entirely. Barrier fields of unknown design absorbed the shots completely, the energy dissipating harmlessly into space. Admiral, Haxavel's voice cracked with disbelief. Their shields are holding. Our weapons had no effect whatsoever. On Earth's surface, the tower network reached full power. Sarah Chen watched the readings with satisfaction. Project Deep Shield wasn't just about defense. It was about sending a message to the galaxy that humanity would not go quietly into slavery. Begin Phase 2, she ordered. The real war was about to begin. The human fleet attacked with surgical precision. Their weapons weren't the massive energy cannons that the Zephyrians expected from a spacefaring civilization. Instead, they fired something far more terrifying. Projectiles that moved at impossible speeds, guided by computers that could predict and counter every evasive maneuver. Admiral Kexithera watched in horror as one of her escort frigates simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, the next it was an expanding cloud of debris. The human projectile had punched through the Zephyrian shields as if they weren't even active. How is this possible? She demanded. Our defensive systems are rated for planetary bombardment. The answer was simple, though the Zephyrians couldn't understand it yet. Human weapons technology had taken a completely different evolutionary path. While other species had focused on energy-based weapons, humans had perfected the art of kinetic destruction. Their projectiles were dense metal slugs accelerated to significant fractions of light speed, guided by artificial intelligence systems that could calculate targeting solutions faster than any organic mind. Commander Veltok was frantically working his tactical console. Admiral, these projectiles are moving at 0.75 light speed. Our point defense systems can't track something that fast. Captain Maria Santos piloted her ship, the Earth's Vengeance, through the chaotic battlefield with the skill of someone who had trained for this moment her entire life. Around her, the bridge crew worked with mechanical efficiency, their faces illuminated by the glow of tactical displays. Target their command ship, she ordered her weapons officer. Let's see how their admiral handles a direct assault. The Earth's Vengeance was humanity's newest warship. Built using technology reverse-engineered from the alien crash 70 years ago, and improved by human ingenuity. Its hull was composed of metamaterials that could deflect most energy weapons. Its engines used controlled gravity manipulation for maneuverability that defied conventional physics. And its weapons could punch holes through anything in the known galaxy. Back on the Zephyrian flagship, alarms were blaring throughout the ship. 3 more vessels had been destroyed in as many minutes, their crews vaporized before they could even scream. The humans were fighting with a brutality that shocked the supposedly superior aliens. Evasive maneuvers, Kexithera shouted. All ships implement scatter pattern Omega, but the human ships moved to match every evasive action. Their targeting computers had studied Zephyrian fleet tactics for decades, analyzing every recorded battle, every strategic doctrine. The humans knew how their enemies would move before the Zephyrians themselves did. On Earth's surface, Director Chen watched the battle through real-time feeds from the fleet. The towers of Project Deep Shield weren't just defensive installations. They were massive computational arrays, each one containing artificial intelligence systems that could process battlefield data faster than any biological brain. Phase 3 is ready, reported her tactical coordinator. The fleet has drawn them into optimal position. Sarah nodded grimly. The space battle was just the opening act. Humanity's real surprise was still waiting in the wings. Admiral Kexithera's flagship shuddered as a human projectile grazed its shields. The impact was enough to overload 3 power conduits and kill a dozen crew members from the feedback surge. For the first time in her long military career, she faced the possibility of actual defeat. Signal the reserve fleet, she commanded. We need reinforcements immediately. Commander Veltok looked up from his console with confusion. Admiral, the reserve fleet is 6 days away at maximum hyperspace velocity. We'll be dead long before they arrive. The human fleet pressed their attack relentlessly. Their ships moved like predators, coordinating their strikes with a precision that spoke of years of practice. Each vessel targeted a specific weak point in Zephyrian defenses, exploiting vulnerabilities that the aliens hadn't even known existed. Captain Santos smiled coldly as her ship's weapons locked onto the Zephyrian flagship. "Fire all forward batteries," she ordered. The Earth's vengeance unleashed a salvo of kinetic projectiles, each one guided by targeting systems that could compensate for relativistic effects and gravitational anomalies. The slugs tore through space toward their target, moving too fast for the Zephyrian sensors to properly track. Admiral Kexathera felt her ship bucking under the impact of weapons fire. Her shields were failing. Her armor was being stripped away layer by layer, and her crew was dying around her. The superior technology she had relied on for 3,000 years was proving useless against these savage humans. "How are they doing this?" she whispered, watching another of her dreadnoughts break apart under sustained fire. "We are the masters of the galaxy. We conquered 47 worlds." The truth was becoming clear to her, though she refused to accept it. The Zephyrian Empire had grown soft through easy conquests. They had relied on overwhelming technological superiority against primitive species, who fought with conventional weapons and predictable tactics. They had never faced an enemy that had specifically prepared to fight them. Humans had spent 70 years studying Zephyrian technology, learning their weaknesses, developing countermeasures. Every battle record, every tactical manual, every technical specification that could be recovered or intercepted had been analyzed by Earth's greatest military minds. The surprise attack wasn't the beginning of humanity's defense. It was the culmination of decades of preparation. Director Chen activated the final phase of her battle plan. "All towers prepare for planetary defense protocol. It's time to show them what Earth can really do." High above the planet, the human fleet began to withdraw from the battle zone. Admiral Kexathera, desperate to salvage something from the disaster, ordered her remaining ships to pursue. It was exactly what the humans wanted her to do. The Zephyrian fleet found itself directly above Earth's surface, within optimal range of the tower network. Sarah Chen's finger hovered over the activation switch that would change the course of galactic history. "For Earth," she whispered, and pressed the button. The towers erupted with energy that made the sun look dim by comparison. Beams of coherent gravity waves lanced upward from Earth's surface, each one capable of tearing apart the molecular bonds that held matter together. The Zephyrian fleet, positioned directly above the planet in pursuit of the retreating human ships, found itself caught in a trap that had been 70 years in the making. Admiral Kexathera felt her flagship shuddering as the gravity weapons struck its hull. The Zephyrian shields, designed to deflect energy and kinetic attacks, were completely useless against weapons that attacked the fundamental forces holding the ship together. "Hull integrity failing," screamed her engineering officer. "The humans are using some kind of gravity manipulation technology. Our armor is coming apart at the atomic level." 3 Zephyrian dreadnoughts simply disintegrated, their massive hulls unraveling like ribbons in a hurricane. The crew members aboard those ships didn't even have time to feel pain as their bodies were torn apart by gravitational forces beyond their comprehension. Down on Earth, the tower network was operating at maximum capacity. Each installation was a marvel of human engineering, combining alien technology with innovations that even the original designers hadn't imagined possible. The gravity weapons drew their power directly from Earth's rotation, using the planet itself as a massive battery. Director Chen watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. "Target the command ship specifically," she ordered. "We want their admiral alive to send a message." The gravity beams focused on Kexathera's flagship, carefully calibrated to disable rather than destroy. The Zephyrian ship found its engines failing, its weapons offline, its life support systems flickering. But the hull remained intact, the crew alive but helpless. Captain Santos brought her ship alongside the crippled Zephyrian flagship. "This is Captain Maria Santos of the Earth Defense Fleet," she transmitted. "Surrender immediately or be destroyed." Admiral Kexathera stared at the human ship through her view screen. It was smaller than her dreadnought, but it radiated a sense of deadly competence that made her crystalline skin crawl. The humans had outfought her, outmaneuvered her, and demonstrated technology that shouldn't exist. "I demand to speak with your commander," she finally replied, her voice carrying none of its earlier arrogance. "You're speaking to her," Santos replied coldly. "I am the commander of this engagement, and you, Admiral, are my prisoner." The surviving Zephyrian ships were scattered across the orbital zone, most of them heavily damaged, all of them effectively neutralized. Of the 12 dreadnoughts that had arrived to conquer Earth, only 4 remained operational, and they were completely surrounded by human vessels. Director Chen opened a communication channel to the Zephyrian flagship. Her image appeared on Admiral Kexathera's bridge, and for the first time, the alien leader could see the true nature of her opponent. This wasn't a primitive savage. This was a highly intelligent military strategist who had orchestrated one of the most devastating defeats in galactic history. Admiral Kexathera, Sarah began, her voice calm and professional. Your fleet is destroyed. Your ships are disabled. Your crew is at our mercy. You came to Earth expecting easy conquest. Instead, you found an enemy that was ready for you. Kexathera's forearms trembled with rage and fear. How did you know we were coming? How did you prepare such defenses? Sarah smiled, but there was no warmth in the expression. Because, Admiral, we've been watching your empire for decades. Every world you conquered, every tactic you used, every weakness you displayed, we studied it all. We learned from your victims, and we prepared. The truth was even more complex than Sarah was revealing. The alien ship that had crashed 70 years ago hadn't been empty. It had contained a survivor, a refugee from one of the Zephyrian Empire's earlier conquests. That being had lived long enough to warn humanity about what was coming and to provide detailed intelligence about Zephyrian technology and tactics. You see, Admiral, Sarah continued, you made a fundamental error. You assumed that a species' technological level determines their combat effectiveness. But humans understand something that your empire has forgotten. War isn't just about having better weapons. It's about intelligence, preparation, and the will to do whatever is necessary to protect your home. The remaining Zephyrian ships were slowly being surrounded by human vessels. Each alien captain faced the same choice: surrender or be destroyed by weapons they couldn't comprehend or defend against. Commander Veltok looked at his admiral with desperation. Orders, Admiral? Should we attempt to ram their ships? Go down fighting? Kexathera stared at the tactical display, seeing the complete annihilation of her fleet. Her empire had never faced a defeat like this. In 3,000 years of expansion, no species had ever inflicted such devastating losses on a Zephyrian force. Signal surrender, she whispered, the words tasting like poison in her mouth. But Director Chen wasn't finished. Your surrender is accepted, Admiral. However, this engagement isn't over. You see, we have a message to send to your empire. Earth is not defenseless. Humanity is not weak, and we will not tolerate threats to our world. The human fleet began to move, forming up in precise formations around the captured Zephyrian ships. Sarah's plan was entering its final phase. The destruction of the invasion fleet was just the beginning. You're going to return to your empire, she told Kexathera. You're going to tell them exactly what happened here. You're going to explain how a species you considered primitive destroyed your fleet with weapons you didn't know existed, and you're going to make sure they understand that Earth is permanently off limits. Admiral Kexathera felt a chill run through her crystalline body. The humans weren't just defeating her. They were humiliating her, sending her back to the Empire as living proof of their power. It was a psychological warfare tactic that struck at the very heart of Zephyrian pride and arrogance. But first, Sarah added, her expression becoming even more serious, you're going to help us send a more immediate message. We know about your reserve fleet. We know they're 6 days away, and we're going to make sure they receive a very clear warning about what happens to species that threaten Earth. The director's plan was about to reveal its true scope. This wasn't just about defending Earth. It was about establishing humanity as a force to be respected throughout the galaxy. The human fleet escorted the surviving Zephyrian ships to the edge of Earth's solar system, where a massive construct waited in the cold darkness beyond Pluto's orbit. Admiral Kexathera stared in disbelief at the structure that appeared on her sensors. It was enormous, clearly artificial, and radiating energy signatures that defied classification. What is that? She demanded, her voice hoarse from hours of interrogation by human officers. Director Chen's image smiled on the communication screen. That, Admiral, is humanity's gift to the galaxy. We call it the Beacon. It's going to make sure your empire, and every other aggressive species out there, understands exactly what Earth is capable of. The Beacon was a masterwork of human engineering, built over decades in the outer solar system where no alien sensors could detect it, part communications array, part weapons platform, and part demonstration of humanity's technological capabilities. It represented the culmination of everything humans had learned about advanced physics. Captain Santos piloted her ship alongside the Zephyrian flagship as they approached the massive structure. "Admiral," she transmitted, "you're about to witness something that no alien species has ever seen before. Consider yourself privileged." The beacon activated with a pulse of energy that could be detected across multiple star systems. But this wasn't just a signal. It was a precisely modulated transmission that carried terabytes of data about human technology, military capabilities, and diplomatic intentions. The message was being broadcast simultaneously to every known spacefaring civilization in the local galactic region. Kexathara watched in growing horror as the transmission reached her reserve fleet, still 6 days away from Earth. The beacon's signal was so powerful that it overwhelmed their communication systems, forcing every Zephyrian ship to receive the complete message whether they wanted to or not. "Your reserve fleet is receiving detailed specifications about our weapons," Sarah explained. "Energy output levels, kinetic capabilities, defensive systems. They're also receiving tactical recordings of this battle, showing exactly how we destroyed your invasion force." But the message wasn't just going to the Zephyrians. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations were receiving humanity's introduction to the galactic community. Some species would see it as a warning. Others would view it as an opportunity for trade and alliance. All of them would understand that Earth was no longer an isolated, primitive world. The transmission included something else. An offer. Humanity was extending formal diplomatic contact to any species interested in peaceful relations. Trade agreements, technology exchanges, cultural programs. Earth was opening its doors to the galaxy, but on human terms. "You have two choices, Admiral," Director Chen continued. "You can return to your empire and recommend that they leave Earth alone permanently. In exchange, we're willing to establish trade relations with the Zephyrian Empire. Our technology in exchange for your resources and knowledge." Kexathara's mind reeled at the implications. The humans were offering to share their devastating weapons technology in exchange for peaceful coexistence. It was an offer that the Zephyrian High Command would find impossible to refuse. "The alternative," Sarah's voice grew cold, "is that we demonstrate our ability to project force beyond our solar system. The beacon isn't just a communication device, Admiral. It's also capable of opening hyperspace conduits that can deliver our weapons to any point in the galaxy." The captured Zephyrian crew watched in stunned silence as the beacon began to demonstrate this capability. Space itself seemed to fold around the massive structure, creating a tunnel of twisted reality that stretched across the void. Through the conduit, they could see distant stars, other worlds, the very heart of the Zephyrian Empire itself. "We know the location of your homeworld," Sarah said simply. "We know the coordinates of your major military installations, and we have the capability to strike them all simultaneously if you force our hand." It was the ultimate deterrent. Humanity had developed the ability to wage war across interstellar distances, making their solar system's defenses effectively infinite in range. No species, no matter how advanced, could threaten Earth without risking immediate retaliation against their own worlds. Commander Veltok stumbled backward from his sensor display. "Admiral, they could destroy our entire empire without leaving their solar system." "How is this possible?" The answer lay in the unique path that human technology had taken. While other species had focused on building bigger ships and more powerful weapons, humans had concentrated on force multiplication and tactical innovation. They had learned to do more with less, to fight smarter rather than harder. Captain Santos opened a new communication channel to the Zephyrian flagship. "Admiral, your reserve fleet has just received our message. They're already changing course, returning to Zephyrian space. It seems your High Command is capable of learning from your mistakes." Indeed, the tactical display showed the reserve fleet breaking off their approach to Earth. The demonstration of human capabilities had been sufficient to convince even the most aggressive Zephyrian commanders that attacking Earth would be suicidal. "You're free to go." "Admiral," Director Chen announced, "take your surviving ships and return to your empire. Deliver our message to your leaders. Earth offers friendship to those who come in peace, and annihilation to those who come as conquerors." Admiral Kexathara found herself in the impossible position of thanking the species she had come to enslave. The humans had defeated her completely, but they were offering her a way to salvage something from the disaster. Her empire could survive, even prosper, if they abandoned their aggressive expansion and accepted Earth as an equal partner. "I will deliver your message," she said finally. "But Admiral," Director Chen, "what guarantee do we have that humanity won't use these weapons against us in the future?" Sarah's expression softened slightly. "The same guarantee we're giving every species in the galaxy, Admiral. Treat us with respect, honor your agreements, and you have nothing to fear from Earth. But threaten us, attack our allies, or attempt to conquer other worlds in our sphere of influence, and you'll discover just how far human patience can be pushed." The beacon continued its transmission, sending humanity's message to every corner of the known galaxy. The age of easy conquest was over. Earth had announced itself as a new power in galactic affairs, one that would not tolerate aggression but welcomed cooperation. As the Zephyrian ships prepared to depart, Admiral Kexathara realized that she had witnessed the birth of a new galactic order. Humanity had emerged from their isolated world not as conquerors but as protectors. They were offering to defend other species against the kind of aggression that the Zephyrian Empire had practiced for millennia. The galaxy would never be the same. 3 months after the failed invasion, the galaxy had transformed beyond recognition. The beacon's transmission had reached over 200 spacefaring civilizations, and the responses had been overwhelming. Earth's communication arrays worked around the clock to handle the flood of diplomatic messages, trade proposals, and requests for military assistance. Director Chen stood in the newly constructed Galactic Relations Center, watching holographic displays that showed the current state of interstellar affairs. 47 species had formally requested defense treaties with Earth. 19 others had sent trade delegations. Most surprisingly, 32 civilizations had asked for human military advisors to help them restructure their own defense forces. "The Carillion Confederation is reporting another victory against hegemony raiders," reported her aide, a young woman named Lieutenant Torres. "They're using the tactical doctrines we provided, and their effectiveness has increased by 300%. Sarah nodded with satisfaction. The Carillion were a peaceful species that had been systematically raided by more aggressive neighbors for centuries. Human military advisors had taught them how to fight smart instead of hard, using intelligence and preparation to overcome superior numbers. "What about the Zephyrian situation?" Sarah asked. "Admiral Kexathara arrived at their homeworld last week," Torres replied. "Our long-range sensors detected massive fleet movements. It appears the Zephyrian High Command is reorganizing their entire military structure." The reports filtering in from Zephyrian space painted a picture of an empire in transition. The devastating, defeated Earth had shattered their confidence in traditional conquest tactics. More importantly, the human offer of advanced technology in exchange for peaceful behavior had proven irresistible to their leadership. Captain Santos entered the command center, her uniform bearing new insignia that marked her as the first human to hold the rank of Galactic Defense Coordinator. "Director, we have a situation developing in the Vegan system. 3 species are requesting immediate assistance against what appears to be a new threat." Sarah turned to examine the tactical display that Torres activated. The Vegan system showed signs of massive energy discharges and the debris signatures of destroyed ships, but the attackers weren't any known aggressive species. "Unknown vessels, Admiral," Santos reported. "They appeared out of nowhere, destroyed the orbital defenses of 2 worlds, and vanished before local forces could respond. The energy signatures don't match any civilization in our database." This was exactly the kind of situation that Earth's new galactic role was designed to address. Humanity had positioned itself as the defender of peaceful species, and now that commitment was being tested. "Deploy the 3rd Fleet," Sarah ordered. "Full diplomatic escort but prepared for combat. And activate the deep space sensor network. I want to know who these attackers are and where they came from." The human response was swift and decisive. Within hours, 12 Earth vessels were moving through hyperspace toward the threatened system, their weapons charged and their crews ready for battle, but they weren't alone. 5 Zephyrian ships had volunteered to join the mission, along with vessels from 4 other species that had signed defense agreements with Earth. Admiral Kexathara commanded the Zephyrian contingent, her flagship now equipped with human-designed shields and weapon systems. The defeated Earth had taught her the value of adapting to new realities, and she had become one of humanity's most effective military partners. "This is Admiral Kexathara to Captain Santos," she transmitted, as the combined fleet dropped out of hyperspace near Vega. Sensors show multiple debris fields and energy residue. Whatever attacked here had significant firepower. The mystery deepened as the investigation proceeded. The destroyed ships belonged to 3 different species, all of them peaceful traders and colonists. The attackers had struck without warning, without demands, and without apparent strategic purpose. They had simply destroyed everything they encountered and disappeared. "Captain," called out the sensor officer aboard Santos's ship, "I'm detecting faint hyperspace trails leading out system. The signature is completely unknown. Whatever these ships use for faster-than-light travel, it's not any technology we've encountered before." Sarah received the report back on Earth with growing concern. The galaxy was full of unexplored regions and unknown civilizations. It was entirely possible that humanity's emergence as a galactic power had attracted the attention of something that preferred the previous state of chaos and vulnerability. "Order all defense fleets to yellow alert," she commanded, "and send a message through the beacon network. Every species needs to be warned about this new threat." But even as Earth's forces prepared for potential conflict, something unexpected was happening in the attacked system. Survivors from the destroyed worlds were reaching out not just for rescue, but for something more fundamental: hope. A transmission reached Captain Santos from the surface of Vega Prime, where refugees from 3 different species had gathered in makeshift camps. "Captain Santos," the message began, "this is Professor Kellyan of the Vegan Institute. We wanted to thank Earth for responding so quickly to our crisis." The alien professor, a tall being with silver skin and large multifaceted eyes, continued his message with obvious emotion. "For centuries, our species have lived in fear of raiders and conquerors. When the unknown attackers struck, we expected to face the same cycle of violence and helplessness that has plagued this region for generations. But you came. Not just humans, but a coalition of species working together for mutual defense. You've shown us something we thought was impossible. A galaxy where the peaceful can defend themselves, where cooperation is stronger than conquest." Similar messages were arriving from across the galaxy. Species that had lived in isolation, afraid to venture beyond their home systems, were beginning to explore again. Trade routes that had been abandoned due to piracy were reopening under the protection of human-led patrol fleets. Admiral Kexathara found herself in the strange position of defending the very kinds of worlds that her empire had once conquered. "It's ironic," she told Captain Santos during a joint planning session. "We spent 3,000 years proving that might makes right. Now we're learning that protection makes allies." The Zephyrian Empire was discovering that their new role as defenders rather than conquerors was actually more profitable than their old methods. Protected trade routes generated more wealth than conquered worlds. Allied species shared technology willingly, while enslaved populations required constant military oversight. But the unknown attackers remained a threat. The Deep Space Sensor Network had detected several more incidents of mysterious ships striking isolated targets and disappearing. Whatever species was responsible, they seemed to be testing the new galactic order that humanity had established. Director Chen knew that the real test of Earth's leadership was still to come. The galaxy was watching to see if humans could protect the peace they had promised to maintain. The unknown threat would provide that test, and the outcome would determine whether humanity's vision of galactic cooperation could survive its first major challenge. The stage was set for a confrontation that would define the future of the galaxy. The truth about the mysterious attackers came from an unexpected source. Deep in the archives of the Zephyrian Empire, Admiral Kexathara discovered records that made her crystalline blood run cold. The energy signatures from the attacks matched those of the Devourers, an ancient species that the Zephyrians had encountered during their early expansion and barely survived. "Director Chen," Kexathara transmitted urgently from her flagship, "we need to talk immediately. The species attacking these worlds, we've faced them before. 3,000 years ago, they nearly destroyed my entire civilization. The Emergency Council convened on Earth within hours, bringing together representatives from dozens of species that had joined humanity's galactic alliance." The holographic image of Admiral Kexathara dominated the central display as she shared the terrifying history that her empire had tried to forget. "The Devourers don't conquer worlds," she explained. her forearms gesturing to tactical displays that showed ancient battle records. They consume them. Every living thing, every resource, every scrap of matter. They strip a planet down to its core and move on to the next target. Director Chen studied the data with growing alarm. The Devourers operated from massive mobile worlds, artificial planets that could travel between star systems while housing billions of their kind. They had no fixed territory, no permanent bases, no traditional weaknesses that could be exploited. "How did your empire survive them?" asked Captain Santos. Kexathera's expression grew dark. "We didn't fight them. We hid from them. When their scouts found our outer colonies, we abandoned those worlds and retreated deeper into our territory. We spent 500 years building defenses and waiting for them to lose interest. And it worked. Eventually, the Devourers moved on to richer hunting grounds in other parts of the galaxy, but they never truly left. They've been out there, in the dark spaces between the spiral arms, consuming whatever they can find, and now they're back." The implications were staggering. If the Devourers had returned to this region of the galaxy, every world was at risk. Unlike traditional conquerors who wanted living slaves and functioning infrastructure, the Devourers saw all organic life as nothing more than fuel for their massive fleets. "How many ships do they have?" asked the representative from the Carillion Confederation. Kexthera's shoulders sagged. "When we last encountered them, they had 12 mobile worlds, each one the size of a small moon. Every mobile world carries millions of their vessels. They don't just have a fleet, they are a fleet." Director Chen felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. Earth had promised to protect the peaceful species of the galaxy, but the Devourers represented a threat beyond anything humanity had prepared for. This wasn't about defending against conquest. It was about preventing the extinction of entire civilizations. "We need intelligence," she decided. "Real-time information about their current capabilities and intentions." "Admiral Kexthera, I'm authorizing a joint reconnaissance mission. Human stealth technology combined with Zephyrian knowledge of Devourer patterns." The mission launched within days. Captain Santos led a small fleet of Earth's most advanced scout ships, accompanied by Zephyrian vessels that had been modified with human stealth systems. Their target was the edge of known space, where the Devourers were believed to be massing their forces. What they found defied their worst fears. The Devourers hadn't just returned. They had grown. Long-range sensors detected 15 mobile worlds moving in formation toward the galactic core, their hulls bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Each artificial world was surrounded by clouds of smaller vessels, creating fleets that numbered in the millions. "They're heading directly for the most populated systems," Santos reported back to Earth. "At their current speed, they'll reach the outer colonies in 6 months." But the reconnaissance mission also revealed something else. The Devourers were making a mistake. They were moving in a predictable pattern, following the same route they had used 3,000 years earlier. They expected to find the same terrified civilizations that had hidden from them before. They didn't know about humanity's emergence as a galactic power. They didn't know about the alliance system that Earth had built. Most importantly, they didn't know that the galaxy's defenders were no longer scattered and afraid. Director Chen called for a full galactic assembly. Representatives from over 100 species gathered on Earth, either in person or through quantum communication links. It was the largest gathering of intelligent life in recorded history, and its purpose was to plan for the survival of galactic civilization. "The Devourers see us as prey," Sarah addressed the assembly. "They expect us to scatter and hide like every species has done before. Instead, we're going to do something they've never encountered. We're going to fight back as one unified force." The plan that emerged from the assembly was audacious beyond belief. Instead of defending individual worlds, the Alliance would concentrate their entire combined fleet at a single point. The Nexus system, a major trade hub that the Devourers would have to pass through to reach the galaxy's most populated regions. "We're going to make our stand at Nexus," Chen announced. "Every ship, every weapon, every defense system that our civilizations can muster. We'll show the Devourers that this galaxy has changed since their last visit." The mobilization that followed was unprecedented in galactic history. Species that had been enemies for millennia worked side by side to prepare for the coming battle. Zephyrian dreadnoughts were refitted with human weapons. Carillion defensive satellites were equipped with Terran shields. The technological innovations of dozens of civilizations were combined into weapon systems. that no single species could have created alone. Admiral Kexithera found herself commanding a mixed fleet of Zephyrian and human vessels, her tactical displays showing ship designs from 40 different worlds. "Director," she transmitted to Earth, "my ancestors would call this impossible. Species from across the galaxy working together as if they were a single civilization." "That's exactly what we are now," Sarah replied. "One civilization with many faces, united by the principle that no species should have to face extinction alone." As the Devourer fleet approached the Nexus system, they found something waiting for them that they had never encountered in their long history of consuming worlds. Not a handful of terrified colonies or scattered defensive fleets, but the combined might of an entire galactic community that had chosen to make it stand together. The final battle for the galaxy was about to begin, and for the first time in millions of years, the Devourers would face prey that refused to run. Humanity had done more than just defend Earth. They had shown the galaxy that cooperation was stronger than conquest, that unity could triumph over even the most ancient of threats. The species that had once sent an SOS in desperation now stood ready to show the universe what happened when civilizations fought as one. The Devourers were about to learn that their age of easy feeding was over. A new galaxy had emerged, one where the prey had become predators, and where humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology, but their ability to inspire others to stand and fight. The battle that would decide the fate of billions was about to commence.